talking about how you can do direct sales as an author to sell your books from your website directly to your fans. And we have a whole playlist on how to make this more efficient and effective and profitable for you. So make sure you check that out and drop your questions as we go. And in this episode, I want to talk about the physical act of mailing these books because there are some things that we just don't talk about. Now, we've talked about them on the channel. You can go back and watch the videos, but I want you to know in terms of this conversation, how you can be doing this more efficiently and effectively. The first thing is, you know you're going to be making these sales. You need to order your mailing supplies in advance. If you're going to be selling a lot of books, you're going to need some boxes. And if you're going to be selling just 1 or 2 books to people, you're going to need some bubble mailers. Now, I do recommend if you are packing things in like a cardboard box, you also wrap them in some plastic, bubble wrap, a bag. I don't care what it is. People could potentially leave a box out in the rain. They could set it in a puddle. It may not arrive in the state that you sent it in. So protect your book. You know it's paper. Protect the book. You're going to want to have these things in advance because you do not want to have to run out and buy them every time you make a sale. And you most certainly do not want to buy these from the stores you're mailing them from. UPS, the post office, FedEx, all of those things have these products and supplies, but they're expensive. Don't order them in advance. You can get them from Walmart or Target or any store that kind of sells that kind of thing. You can order them off of Amazon. If you're planning on selling a bunch, Amazon actually has a bunch of bulk things in specialized colors that are way cheaper than anywhere else. So you can customize it to your branding, and you want to be aware that as you're selling these things, you're representing your business. So some customized packaging may work to your advantage. And that can look like, and we've talked about this in lots of videos before, but that can look like putting a stamp on your box or writing something special on the box or having a special color that you always use for your bubble mailers or having ribbons on the inside with your card or stamped tissue paper or all sorts of things. There's so much branding that you can be doing. If you want to have another discussion on that, go ahead and let me know because that's my vibe. I live for that. I would love to have that discussion with you. But you want to make sure you've got whatever you want to represent your brand as you're doing this and have those things in advance so that you're not stressed, rushing to get them, or paying a premium because you waited until the last second. So with that in mind, you are going to have to come up with a plan and strategy to mail these things. You will have to sign your book, package your books up. You're going to have to address them. So you might have to handwrite your address, which P.S. you're going to have to put an address on there, and you're going to have to put their address. So how do you want to do that? Do you want to print things on labels? Do you want to handwrite them? That is up to you. You have to think that through in advance and make sure, again, it is representative of who you are and who your brand is. And then you want to make sure that you are taking those to wherever you're going to be shipping it from. Now, here's a pro tip. If you take this to the United States Post Office, you can actually mail these media as long as it is only your book. If you put other stuff in there, if they purchased other things for you, it does not count as media. It has to be just your book. As long as it's that paper book, you can mail it media. Now, media is not fast. It will take a little bit longer, but it will be significantly cheaper for you to ship. So if you're charging people for a normal shipping rate and then sending it media, that feels a little sketchy, a little icky, but you can charge them less if you're going to ship it media, if they're aware it's going to be media. That's something that you can consider for yourself if it's something you want to discuss with your people, or if you just want to mail it normally and get those tracking numbers and all of the things. So if you're shipping a lot, especially if it's really heavy, because when you get over a certain weight limit, it gets expensive. Media might work really well for you, but again, it depends on what they have purchased. Now, with media shipping, there is always the possibility that they can double check you. So you can hand a package to your postmaster and say, yes, it's media. And if somewhere along the lines they say, I don't know about this, I'm going to check this one. I'm going to open this one. And you have lied and there's other stuff in there, you can get in big trouble. Don't do that. So make sure that you are, on above board with this one. It's very important. And you're going to want to make sure that you are taking it to the post office on a frequent basis. Now, if you are selling a lot of these books, it might not make sense for you to go every single day to take another book to mail. So you may say all shipments go out on Fridays and every Friday you go to the post office. Or if you've listened to some of the other videos that we have done, we've talked about making it effective and efficient for you. Maybe you're not doing direct sales year round. Maybe you're doing it during certain time frames. So then you're taking all of your things at once. If you are going to be shipping a lot of things at once, you have to be smart about how you do it. Do not be the jerk who walks in with 100 packages to mail out without having a plan and a strategy. If you have a bunch of these things, call the place first. Say that you're going to be shipping out a lot. Give them a relative number of what you're shipping out, and they'll give you more guidance on how to do that. Have you ever gone to the post office or UPS or FedEx or wherever, and you've been behind somebody with like 10 packages to send, and they have to go through and type out each individual thing behind the register to make sure it's going to the right place, and they have to calculate all this? It takes forever, and it just drives you crazy because all you have to do is get a stamp, right? Don't be that person. So if you are doing a large quantity, you may have to do it in sections. You may have to come in at a special time. I do recommend, if you have more than 1 or 2 packages, try going during the off hours. Think about when people are not going to be at the post office because they're at work or because they're doing other things. So you're going to go during times that are not going to be what we'll consider high volume times. So think about when people are available to go. Before work, lunch breaks, after work, avoid those times. Go in the middle of the morning, like 9:30, 10 a.m. when people aren't going to be there. It's not going to be as tragic for you. That's going to work to your benefit. You also want to give them a heads up. Hey, listen, I'm doing all these things. Maybe you want to set aside a worker just to deal with this so that we don't have to hinder everybody else. If you show up with a high volume of packages and now everybody has to wait for you, that's going to be a problem. So if you call them in advance, call them a couple days in advance, a day in advance, whatever you can do, and say, hey, listen, I'm bringing in a lot of things. What time would you like me to come? I'm available from here to here. Would you like to set aside a worker just to specifically go through these things? Is there anything I can do to make this process easier? They're going to be much more inclined to work with you and a lot nicer about it as well, because you're going to be there for a prolonged period of time. So you have to pay attention to your own schedule, how often you're going to be able to go to the post office, how often you're going to be able to do these things for people, and be very hyper aware of putting this documentation on your website. All deliveries go out on Friday. If you order on Saturday, you're going to have to wait till the next Friday for me to ship it out. Be very clear. Be very, very clear and very, very specific as you are doing this. Now, of course, we want to make sure that we are making this as easy as possible, so your handwriting needs to be as legible as possible. We don't want things sticking off of your packages. Make sure everything is sealed down, everything is taped really well. Really, really well. If you've got boxes, tape the edges. If you've got a bubble mailer, put that masking tape, or not masking tape, the clear packing tape over it so that stuff is not going to get inside. It's not going to get ripped. Reinforce the corners. If it is heavy, if the book's poking out of the corners, it's your responsibility to make sure it gets there well. So pack it well before you are going. And if you've got questions, call whoever you're going to be shipping it through. Ask them. They will walk you through it. They'll be able to give you hours. They'll be able to give you locations. They'll be able to give you whatever it is that you're going to need. And of course, you can do some of that like pre-done labels where they'll come and pick it up at your house and you just print things out and whatever. That can make it easier as well. So if you're going to be doing a high volume of this, research and make a plan, an effective plan, so that you do not drive yourself up the wall. I used to ship things out as I would get orders, and it just overwhelmed me, and I hate doing direct sales because of that. And so I have to have a clear and concise strategy for doing this in the future to make sure that I am not somebody who very strongly dislikes doing direct sales because of the poor experience that I had last time, because I just didn't have a good method and strategy for doing this. So continue to follow along. We have more episodes inside of this playlist that are going to be coming out to make sure that you are making the most out of your time and efforts doing direct sales of your books. Questions are more than welcome down in my comments, and we'll see you in the upcoming episodes.